Alan Stratton from Woodturns. It's been a while since I made a pendant for a necklace, off-center particularly. In fact, this one's a blooper, so oh well. So let's go for this one with a lot of smiley faces on it. This is a little bit less than 1/8 of an inch thick, so it's actually very, very light duty. But to do this, I used this DIY or Shopmade chuck. This was originally published in American Woodturner about, what, 6-7 years ago. And but I've adapted it because number one, I like to put things on faceplates. Number two, they used a wood screw here. I use a metal screw with a T-nut, which will last a whole lot longer than that. I've also adapted it so that the center pin here can accept a work platform mounted to a T-nut so that I can interchange things. Speaking of interchanging the work on the work platform, this is for eccentric work, but if you try and line it up again to the original axis, you got problems. So how about just another faceplate with a bolt on it? You're back to the original chuck. If you need to move the work between this side to the other side so you can do the back side or the front side, oh, another work platform comes in handy. Well, another one of those screw chucks would come in handy so they can put it on the tailstock side. These work platforms work together also with my infinite axis chuck that we'll show more later. If you want a commercial version of this, there's the joiner chuck. I prefer the Shopmade chuck because if there's a problem that I see or an accessory that I need, it's easy to make one. This is not difficult to make. So for now, let's go ahead and turn this eccentric turning. It's a pendant for a necklace. There's lots of ways of doing this. These are not the only ways. So I'd appreciate your sharing your ideas on how you would do this sort of pendant. So let's make it.
The first order of business is to mount the wood. I have made a set of faceplates that use a T-nut to mount to a 3/8 inch bolt. These enable me to move the wood between tools and setups. I have used hot melt in the past, but found it very difficult to remove from the work faceplates. Now I use double stick tape. This tape has a plastic backing that is difficult to tear. I have to cut it. I prefer a paperback tape that I can easily tear. I center the wood with a live center, but do not ram it into the wood. Instead, I swap the pointed live center for a faceplate that I can mount on a live tailstock chuck adapter. This one is 2 3/4 inch diameter and flat topped. This helps two ways: pressure to set the tape bond between the wood and the faceplate, and sizing so that I can easily rough turn the wood to my target dimension. Then sand this side, which will be the back side of the disc. In this project, I have to sand when I can, since changes may prevent or limit future sanding. I would rather start with the wood smooth and sanded, then fix limited areas later. But I will not apply finish yet. I will be using alcohol to soften the double stick tape, which could damage shellac. Now I need to reverse the wood. I've tried many ways to do this. The best that I have found is to have another screw mount and faceplate. With the new tape on the new faceplate, I can then use the tailstock to align the wood. It usually still has some deviation, but very small. Then flood the former tape joint with denatured alcohol. This softens the tape and loosens the bond. Then pull it apart with the tailstock ram in reverse. I take the opportunity now to reduce the wood to a good thickness, give it a slight dome, and sand it. Yes, I will be marring the surface, but at least the background will be sanded. So far, mostly prep work. Now I can mount the offset chuck. Plans are from the American Woodturner with modifications. One modification is to accept my work platform faceplates. Another is to use bolts and T-nuts to cinch the plate instead of wood screws. I need to make another modification that I will show in another video. By rotating the offset disc, I position the rotation center to be a little off the edge of the wood. The live center makes for a great pointer to center. Then drill for a mount hole. This will also be the center for features for this medallion. After rounding off the mount hole, I am using masking tape on the tool rest to indicate where I want arcs. These will be largely off the wood, cutting only air. I'm using a 1/4-inch round nose scraper to cut each arc. Since these cuts are interrupted, I sand these by hand. I am glad I previously sanded the background. Then remount the faceplate to a screw mount to sand the perimeter. Again, a little denatured alcohol to loosen the tape joint. Then mount a sanding disc to the lathe. I've grown to like a Morse taper collet mount. There are alternatives, but take a moment to sign before the final touch-up sanding. Finally, apply shellac for a finish. The grooves make it tough to apply. I wind up flooding the grooves and wiping off the excess. I will also buff this piece. There's one finished, and it passes with my wife's approval. I plan to explore more eccentric medallions in future videos. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe on my website, and tell your friends about my videos. I appreciate your comments and questions. Every week, I add a new woodturning video to my website. Always, please wear your full face shield anytime the lathe is running. It is your last line of defense, as it was mine many years ago. I will see you again next week with another woodturning video.